They told you play it safe, stay where you are, keep your head down, don't reach too far, build someone else's dream instead, trade your vision.
Okay, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, wait, we're going to get started in a second after get some other people into the room. Okay, let's go into slide share mode. Oh, okay, so this should be now, you should be able to see this in the slide share mode. And let's see if okay, so everyone, welcome to First Things First, why there's never been a better time to start a law firm. As you know, AI has overtaken the legal profession. We've been talking about it and how it's been used and kind of circling the wagons on AI since the fall of 2022 when ChatGPT was first released. And since then, there have been a whole bunch of different developments. And now I guess the latest thing is people talking about the AI native law firm, people talking about using AI to run a practice. And I decided to kind of focus on how I would start a firm in an AI age. As you know, I've written the blog, MyShingle.com, that has tons of resources, decades of resources on starting a law firm. And I've written the book Solo by Choice, also about starting a firm. And I thought the last edition that came out in February 2022 was going to be the posterity edition, but then we had this thing come along called AI, and and that's kind of changed anything. It's everything. And so it got me to thinking, if I were starting a firm today or starting a new branch of my firm or expanding my firm, how would I use AI at every step of the process? And that's really what the focus of this kind of ongoing program is going to be. And so what I'm going to talk about today, though, are just some of the bigger picture issues in terms of AI. I'm going to talk about, I'm just trying to straighten out this screen. Sorry about that. I'm going to talk about some of the bigger picture issues of how to incorporate it. And then, as promised, I'm going to show you how to use, I'm going to focus on showing you tools that you're going to want to have right away when you start your firm. And we're going to talk about why some of the ones I've chosen are important. Now, you may find that as I do this demonstration, it's maybe more complicated than people sometimes make it out to be. I know that if you hang around on LinkedIn a lot or on some websites, you see people talking about how, oh, I coded this automation. I've got this agent that goes into my email and does this and it does that. And they make it sound like a very simple process. And sometimes setting these things up is not as easy as they seem, but you can still get a lot of value out of using them. And you may determine that this is not where you find the greatest value in using AI, and that's fine too. So anyway, this is AI has not changed the actual dream. As long as I've been writing about solo and small firm practice, which is since 2002, some lawyers have always had the urge to start their own firm for different reasons. Some people just want to practice law their way. Some people want to build empires and make lots of money. Some people want a better work-life balance. Some people couldn't find a job. Some people are returning to the workforce. The dream has always been there, but this is really one of the first, and along the way, there have been tools to kind of support that. We've had practice management systems emerge, the internet has emerged, e-filing, and they certainly made running a law firm much easier than in the days when you had to, go down to the court to file paper documents and have messengers transport materials. But at the same time, there's really never been anything quite like AI, which is essentially a force multiplier and which really reduces a lot of the barriers to starting a firm. And so that's really what's changed. The urge and the drive, those human things, just like we'll talk about how in law practice, there are human elements that never go away, and that human desire to own, to build, to grow, to expand your reach, to influence, to make changes and live a legacy, that doesn't change. But now we have these tools that allow us to realize those dreams, and it's exciting. And as long as I've been practicing, I just don't get tired of this yet. One of these days you'll see me walk off the edge and leave this space, but right now it's such an exciting time to be an attorney and to be in law, I think. So as I alluded to before, when you started a firm in the past, you really needed to have all of these things. And I can remember, just to date myself, one of the first programs that I went to on starting a law firm, I think was back in 1993. And the speaker talked about all these things. She was talking about an office in Class A building and a receptionist and marketing and a paralegal. And by the time all was said and done, she was saying you needed like $30 or $40,000 to start your law firm. And this was in 1992 dollars. And the people who were attending the event and I just kind of looked at each other and we were sort of like, if we had that kind of money, because back then that was a lot of money. If we had that kind of money, we wouldn't be looking to start a firm. We might just wait to find our next job. So that was the old playbook, and that was a very different situation. And, and none of this is new, but now we've really reached the point where things have changed, and AI has fundamentally changed the economics of starting a law practice. It dramatically lowers the cost of starting, and it also gives you the expertise and gives you additional resources that you once would have had to pay for. It allows you to do things that once would have been way too costly to do. And this is not a trend that's unique to law. There's a paper, which in the notes to this, I'll share it. But there's a paper that came out by researchers, I think, at the University of Stockholm and another school in Europe. And essentially, what the authors found was that businesses more increase. There's been a demonstrated increase in the number of businesses that have been launched in the past couple of years. And the paper's authors largely attributed that to AI. They found that AI was allowing businesses to serve more clients with smaller teams, to build software instead of having to hire expensive software teams to develop it themselves. They didn't need administrative teams anymore, and this work could be done faster, better, and cheaper. And so, just as AI is accelerating the growth of small businesses, I feel like the evolution of solo and small firm practice always tracks what's happening in the business world. During COVID, you saw a lot of people leaving their business or leaving their jobs to start small businesses, and then lawyers followed, and there was an acceleration of firms that opened during COVID. And now I think we're seeing that same trend again in an AI era. So you've probably heard a lot about the AI native law firm. And I mean, to me, it's just a name. I guess the way I've heard the AI law firm defined is a firm where you start from you kind of flip the script. Instead of starting a firm and figuring out what technology can do, you start with the presumption that the technology can do everything, and then you figure out what it can't do and what the human can do. And to me, it doesn't matter which way you start, which side of the equation you start on, but I think what's important to note about an AI native law firm is that you have AI baked into as many different aspects of the practice as you can to make it operate efficiently and affordably. And the benefit of starting a firm now in an AI age is, in contrast to lawyers who have been practicing for a long time, who already have systems in place, who have to retrofit them to incorporate AI, you're starting fresh, you're starting from scratch. And so that's a question you can ask yourself, and you should ask yourself at every stage of the process, which is, can AI make the difference here? What can AI do for me at this phase? What can it do for me at this phase? And it may turn out that there are some phases where it can't help you at all, but there may be some stages where it can be very powerful. So that's one of the elements of the AI firm, is asking what it can do at each stage of the process to assist you. And of course, also AI has different economics and their different workflows. It automates things. It may obviate the need for starting out with an assistant. I know that probably as recently as 2 years ago, one of the common pieces of advice that I would give and that other consultants would give to lawyers starting a firm is to hire a virtual assistant as soon as you can. And now with AI, a lot of the tasks that virtual assistants once took on can also be done by AI. And so that changes the question of when you need to hire a virtual assistant. And that's not to say that you shouldn't hire one or that you shouldn't work with humans if you feel that it's more compatible with your law practice, but maybe the virtual assistant can do something else, or maybe you can delay the need to hire one and retain more profits for your firm starting out. So these are all different questions, and they're exciting questions to ask yourself. But the most important thing is to just ask yourself, because the tools are there, and you need to ask yourself whether and how these tools can help you. So of course there are also things that are irreplaceable. I don't know how long they're irreplaceable for, but just just because you're incorporating AI at different stages of the process doesn't mean that you're obviating the need for humans entirely. I saw a recent report by a woman named Michelle DiStefano, who's a professor at Harvard Law School, and she talked about what types of things are irreplaceable that machines can't replace. And one of the things she found that's irreplaceable in lawyers is courage and heart and advocacy, those types of characteristics that a machine can't undertake. And what the beauty of AI is that it's very complementary because AI can take over some of that administrative burden that you once had to handle on your own or that you once had to worry about more on your own. It gives you more space to put your heart and your passion into your cases. And you can do it wholeheartedly because a lot of that administrative burden has been alleviated. And so you don't have to be giving your all to your clients while thinking, oh, I hate having to fill out these reports and check through my email and schedule these cases. You can have a tool doing that. And so you can focus more without the administrative burden kind of weighing you down in the background. And so it frees you up for something like that. So when you're starting a law firm, the other thing AI allows you to do is really to start a minimum viable law firm. Everybody, if you're starting out, depending on where you're coming from, you may not have a full idea in mind, a full-blown idea of what you want your firm to look like. It may be very experimental in nature. Or you may have an idea of where you want to go, but you just don't have the money to get there, and your priority is to get cash through the door. I feel like a lot of people waste a lot of time getting started. They spend months and months planning and figuring out, how their firm is going to look and what areas they're going to focus on and and what types of practice management systems they're going to use. And the other thing that AI is doing is it's really compressing that time frame. And so whereas it used to be that if you plan for 6 months and you went into business, your planning would still be relevant. And that's something that's really completely changing now, too. I mean, there are things now that AI can do that 6 months ago it couldn't do at all. And if you hadn't planned on AI coming along, your plans might have become outdated. So there's a lot of things that AI is changing, and one of the things that it allows you to do is start this minimum viable law firm. Now, does this mean that you have to cut corners and that you shouldn't set up proper accounts or shouldn't pick the right technology tools? It doesn't mean that, but what it means is that you can iterate and you can start off with smaller tasks and you can bootstrap. And what we're going to do today is talk about just some of the things that are really important to put in place when you get started. And the things that I chose to focus on are scheduling and intake and a landing page too, because these can become a way that you start marketing your practice. You want to tell people about your practice starting. You want to meet with colleagues and set up referral meetings, and you want to have a scheduling link in place in order to do that so that things don't get lost along the way. And we'll talk about that more. But those are just kind of the, administrative tasks that you have to take care of. But the most important thing at your core is something that I've spoken about for much of my career. I've always encouraged lawyers to own their talent. And it used to be something that was difficult for them to do because we didn't have the tools that enabled us to really create something and build something and put it out there without a lot of expense. And now we have this amazing tool that empowers us. It's so liberating and so freeing that that's really one of the most important reasons why you should think about using AI, not necessarily to make more money or to build faster, although it does empower you to do that. But it allows you to take these ideas and these talents that you have, these things that are very human, and to make better use of them and to share them with the world. And so it's kind of this irony that a machine and a technology can really allow you to expand your scope of influence as a human. And that's what I find so exciting about this. So that's just kind of like the little introduction about AI and using AI at every step of the process. And like I said, this program over the course of the next few weeks is going to show you how to integrate it at different stages. But the first stage and we'll talk about using it for something like market research, but I wanted to show you just how to leverage it very tangibly. And one of the tangible ways I wanted to show you how to use it is to set up a scheduling link and an intake form and a landing page. Because like I said, when you start your firm, the one thing you want to do, you're going to have more time on unless you're starting with a book of business, chances are you're going to have more time on your hands than money. And what you can do with time is you can reach out to people and introduce yourself and let them know about your practice. And you want to and need to be able to do that relentlessly. And it may not just be reaching out to them to talk to them about what your firm does. It may be reaching out to set up webinars if you're promoting your practice through a practice like estate planning or small business law. Or you may want to interconnect with people to find out if you can speak at an event that they're hosting. And so that's why the scheduling tool is so important, because I'm sure most of you have done the endless back and forth emails where you try to meet somebody for lunch or you try to meet them for a meeting, you go back and forth, and nothing ever gets scheduled. And I suppose now you could probably use an AI agent to go back and forth in your email instead of you, but I think setting up a scheduling tool is much easier. And so that's the first thing we're going to look at is creating a scheduling link. And so this is Calendly. This is one of the platforms that people use to set up scheduling links. I don't know if you all are using Calendly or if you're using, there are other platforms that do acuity scheduling. I think Google has a scheduler that you can use. And one of the first things you want to do is just set up a scheduling link and you go through the process. I don't necessarily need to show you how to set that up, but if you haven't seen one of these, you can set up an event type like a one-on-one call, and then you can say if you want to do it by Zoom or by phone call, there are different options, and you can run through it and set it up like that, and eventually it will get you a link, and then it'll also show you what the site looks like, what the page looks like if somebody goes to book the link. Let me see, view the booking page. And so this is what somebody will get if you send them the link, and then they can just go to your calendar and they can book a time and a date to meet with you. And so it takes a lot of the uncertainty out of the scheduling process. So that's the Calendly link. And the other thing you want to have is an intake form. And if you're using a tool like Clio or in my case, I think they have intake or contact forms that you can set up, but you can also just set something up in Google Forms. And you can just set up, you can just call it client intake form. Sorry about that.
Carolyn,
Yes.
are you sharing your screen?
Oh, are you not seeing my screen?
No, we still see the Own Your Talent slide.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Oh, I guess, I always have to do this. Let me just stop sharing. Thank you for letting me know. So let me go back to share. I have to change the window. Um, okay. Okay, is the Calendly link up now?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Now let me see if I go here, can you see the Google form, or am I gonna have to?
Yes, we see the untitled form.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it was just a matter of getting out of that. So client intake, and then you can just ask questions. You want to get what their name is. You see how to set this up. This is just pretty self-explanatory: name, source of referral. And one of the benefits of using something like just a simple Google form is it's going to put things, one of the things you want to think about when you're starting out and you're capturing information is how you're going to make that information accessible to the AI tools that you use. Because these days when you're when you're gathering information, you're anticipating that you're going to be using AI to parse that information, to look for trends, to be able to analyze it. And so one of the easiest things you can have it done, the easiest ways you can aggregate those tools is to put it into a simple spreadsheet. You don't need anything fancy. And the best thing about a Google form is it's one of the easiest ways to get something into a spreadsheet. So that's another reason why you could set up a Google form. But again, there are a million other form tools that you can use to get things set up, and then you can publish that. The other benefit of using systems like Google or these out-of-the-box tools when you're starting is that Google can also connect to Google can connect to different AI tools through an MCP connection. It makes it very easy for them to connect to the tools. And so if you start out using something like in a Google Workspace or Dropbox or something that has an established connector to the AI tools that you're using, it makes it very easy for them to work together from the get-go. And so that's one of the questions you should keep in mind. And we're going to have a tech consultant, Rachel Huff, next week on Tuesday talking about, building your tech stack. But even before we get to her, one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're again, every step of the process is how is this going to impact my ability to use AI to access this data? Am I gathering data in a way that's going to make it valuable to AI? Those are foundational questions that you want to keep in mind when you're starting a firm in today's environment. And so, like I said, when you're using something like a Google form, it makes it very easy. And that's not to say that the other systems there aren't tools that work with other systems or that there aren't closed systems that you might eventually find better for you. But again, if you're starting quickly, if you're starting on the fly, this is always the easiest way to start, place to start from, and you can build up to something more sophisticated or decide later on that maybe you want to use another type of tool. So those are how to set up. So you want to have an intake form where people can contact you or tell you about their problem. And again, I just filled this out just very haphazardly. You can also play around with the design. You can make it in your firm's branded colors, but you want to have some kind of mechanism where people can contact you through an intake. Now, I would suggest also that you, even if you have an intake form, to have an email too. Sometimes people just prefer emailing you, or sometimes a colleague might come to your website or your landing page and they might want to get in touch with you directly and they don't want to fill out an intake. So I would suggest that wherever you post this, you post both an email and an intake form. And then you want to have the scheduling form. And with those two things, you could stop because you could post on social media and give links to that information. You could post that on, different social media platforms. If you have a website, you can post it there. You can include it in your email signature box. So those are two things you want to have, even at a minimum starting out. And I know you're probably thinking this is a program on AI. How does that have to do with AI? And again, I explained that gathering the information is as much a part of using AI as using the AI tools yourself. But what I'm going to show you now is kind of the extra oomph. I'm going to show you how to set up kind of a neat landing page, like a coming soon or just a very basic site where you can that you can share with people to share these links. So what I'm going to do for that, I've got to stop sharing again because I have to go into Claude. Does anybody have any questions though, actually, before we get there? Any specific questions, or is anybody gathering information through forms already or using forms? Okay. So we're going to go through now to Claude. And I just also wanted to ask if you can just put in the
You muted yourself,
All right.
Carolyn.
Okay. Am I unmuted now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Everything is so let's just go into chat. If you could just put in the chat box just what tool you use, if you use Claude, ChatGPT, not using any kind of AI tool at all. If anybody can just chime in here. Oh, somebody's waiting to come in too. So I'm going to show how to do this in Claude. There may be ways to set up these landing pages in Gemini or using other tools. I usually find Claude the easiest for these things, but and again, and in addition to using Claude or ChatGPT and building these things yourself, there are also sites like Replit, replit.com, Lovable, lovable.com, or I think it's Lovable AI or lovable.com. Those are really easy sites where you can just very quickly build a landing page and use an interface that's very easy to use. I think with something like Replit, you can just go in and you can use text to communicate what you want built. And Claude Code will do that too. So I'm going to show you how to do it in Claude Code, but just know that if this seems more complicated, and of course, it's always hard for me to show how I do these things. I often fumble around, so I probably make it look worse than it is. But if you find Claude or a native AI app too cumbersome to use, like I said, there are those options like Lovable. Base 44 is another option where you can just very easily do just explain what you want to build, and it will go ahead and build it. And this is something that, I mean, if you wanted to, you could have your whole firm website launched on something like this. And I'm still out. I'm still on the fence about whether that's a good idea or not. But certainly for just a landing page, which is like a placeholder, to just get in front of as many people as possible, I think it's definitely workable. So. Okay, so we have Matt Kurbis here. Hey, Matt. Matt has a lot of great resources also for AI and lawyers who are starting practices. So I'm going to go into Claude Code, and then I'm going to share. I know I have to share my screen. I haven't shared it yet. I'm just getting it set up. Claude Code is on my local, and so let me see if I can share it here. Here it is. Oh, thank God. Okay, so can people see Claude Code on my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me just move this. Let me close this window. Sorry, just I have too many windows open here. Okay, so anyway, for those of you who use Claude, why is this not move? Oh, here we go. Okay, so for those of you who use Claude, I'm not going to switch to home now, but this is Claude Code, and you might be able to do this in Claude Cowork too. So don't be intimidated by code. And this is part of the purpose of showing you this too, is to encourage you to play around with different features. When you hear Claude Code, it might seem very technical and very intimidating, but you can use your natural language with Claude Code just as you would with any of the other Claude features. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to, I'm going to say, I want you to build a landing page for a new law firm. Just admitting somebody here. My firm is called New Law Firm, and it focuses on family law. And I just want you to include a button where I say coming soon, and where people can fill out an intake form. So that's all the instruction. I want you to create a page with a button that allows people to schedule an appointment, and I want the site to say coming soon. And the name of the firm is New Law Firm. Now that's all I'm going to say. Now what you can do too here is give it design instructions, or what you can do is you can screenshot. What I did for purposes here, I screenshotted a landing page that looked decent. It didn't look decent. I just did a random landing page and just said, I uploaded a landing page and I want you to use a design sort of like that for this site. And then I'm just going to go ahead, and then I'm going to also tell it, I will give you the links to my Calendly page so that you can include the scheduling link. And now I'm just going to go ahead and have it build. And so this may be something that takes a little bit of time, but you can see and of course you can be much more detailed and much more artful in giving it the instructions. And I also am not using Fable to do this. Fable would use like way too many tokens. For a task like designing just a landing page, I would use something like Opus or a lower level tool you're not worth wasting tokens on. Oh, so it needs my Calendly link. So I'm going to go and just pull my Calendly link for it. And I still should be on the Claude page. So I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to give it the link. I'm going to say, here is my Calendly link. And it's going to take care of that. It's just going to put it into the page. So like I said, this does take a little bit of time. And it's telling me what colors it's going to do. It makes these design things. It's recommending a certain font that's genuinely elegant. Now, I don't know anything at all about design, so I am happy to like let Claude drive on this. If you're actually artistic in any way or have marketing experience or any knowledge, I would suggest that you instruct it yourself, because probably what it's going to turn out is not necessarily consistent with real artistic standards, but I'm just letting it do that. So it's building. And the other reason I asked it to build a landing page is because presumably it wasn't going to take that long to build. So here it goes. And I don't know if any of you have ever coded in HTML. I mean, a long time ago, I used to code websites for doing that. So, okay, it's gonna display here. And there it is. Oh, NLF, new law firm. Now again, and here's the schedule consultation. Let's see if that works. Okay, the link was, okay. Supports local host. Okay, so right now it's only hosted locally. So in order to test this, so here you have the page, but now it has to be hosted in order to be able to make it go live. And so you could see how quickly it went. So there are two different options for hosting your site. One of the things that you can do, and one of the things that I've done, is I've set up an account on GitHub. GitHub is actually a source where you kind of upload and track all the changes in code. I know I'm not explaining this very accurately. And you can have, and what Claude will do is it will upload the content to GitHub, and then GitHub interfaces with Vercel, which is actually the hosting, which makes it appear on the internet. So that's one way you can do it. I have my GitHub set up, so I'm going to say, can you upload this to GitHub and post it and set it up to post on Vercel? That's one way you can do it. And then there's also a simpler way. And probably I should have sent, let me see if it's going to do this, and then I'll show you the simpler approach. But the other thing is don't be intimidated. And my GitHub is also connected to Claude. Don't be intimidated by GitHub or by Vercel. I was a little bit intimidated by them, not completely, because the GitHub account I've had for actually 15 years. My late husband was like really into computers and coding, and he thought that I should be too. So he he enthusiastically set up a GitHub account for me like in 2011. So I've had it for a long time, but it's because you're interfacing with it with Claude, it really shouldn't be intimidating. So like I said, I have these different sites set up, the GitHub account and the Vercel account. And so once you have it in place, you can change the website. It will change it automatically. You can go from I could go from coming soon to available now, but let me just, okay, the Vercel site can be public either way. I'll just put it there. It's just uploading it. But like I said, I'll show you there's an easier way to host it too, where you can download your HTML file and then post it on a site called Netlify. And that's a much easier way to do this. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like live. And really, like I said, the main thing here, the main takeaway here should not be, I need to sit down and learn how to code a website. That's something you can do if you want to, and to see if it's in a process that you enjoy doing. The real takeaway here is that if you're starting a firm tomorrow, you want to have a Calendly link and or a Google intake form. That should be your takeaway. So don't let this distract from the lead and what I consider to be the most important thing. If you've got to, if you have 20 minutes to get your law firm off the ground, I wouldn't necessarily waste time with setting up your GitHub and your Vercel. But if you have a little bit of time and you think that it could be rewarding or satisfying to do something like this, then do that and incorporate your scheduling link with it.
I have a webinar right now immediately.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody should go on mute. So, and you can see here, it's working on pushing it out. This does take a little bit of time. Okay, so that's live. And now it's at GitHub. It's telling me that the code for this site is at GitHub. And if I make changes, those changes will be uploaded to GitHub. And now it's connecting with Vercel to post the changes on the internet. That's where they get hosted. So just go through this. But it's all, you can see it's all done with natural language. There's no coding needed. Okay. Stable URL. There, it's verifying the URL, and I should be able to show it to you live. Now, when I go to show it to you live, it's probably going to like require another window or something, but okay. And here it is. Here's the name of my website at the landing page. And we'll just go there. Let me see if this is a better way of. Oh, there it is. Here it is. So you see up here, it says new lawfirm.vercel.app. That should mean that it's live. And so when I hit the scheduling a consult button, it'll open a link right to Calendly. And you can see how somebody can do the scheduling that way. And so that's how you can set it up there. Now, the other way you can set it up is, like I said, I want to host my landing page on Netlify. Can you tell me how to do that? And you'll have a recording of this so you can follow through this on the recording too. But yeah, that's how it's right now, just showing you in the part of the page, but this is live. You can tell that this is a website code. And now I'll show you how to do the Netlify. Here it goes. No, I don't want it to connect my GitHub. I am doing a demo for people who don't necessarily have GitHub accounts, so I just want to download the HTML. Can you do that without involving GitHub? I'm also using Whisperflow, which is a feature that I really recommend so that you can talk to the technology instead of typing everything in. I feel like sometimes you have like a better interface with them when you do it that way. Okay, the file is already a single contained HTML page. Okay, so it's going to put it in my downloads folder. Okay, and so what it's doing is it's downloading, double click to open any browser. Okay, so it downloaded to my website, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the site called Netlify. And I know I have to change my window. Do you see Netlify in my window, or do you still see the Claude Cowork page?
Claude Cowork.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to keep, this is why you don't see a lot of these demos here. Okay, let me just go back. Now I'm going to go to the Netlify page. Where did it go?
We thank you for your service, Carolyn, and being vulnerable and sharing your screen and doing all this stuff.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the site called Netlify. And so when you go there, it says, do you want to deploy a new project? It's netlify.com. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to my download folder where, yeah, here it is. And so Claude very conveniently put it in my download folder. I'm going to just drag and drop the HTML file into Netlify. And I'm just going to, I think it's maybe renaming it. It gives it all these, it gives it weird, funny names. And you can set a real URL for it and forward it there, and there it is. It's live on the internet. And over here you can see schedule a consult, and it takes you to the Calendly page. And so that is the demo of how you do these things. And like I said, it's kind of a neat touch. I mean, when you're starting out, when you can start out with like a page, and again, this is you know that where's my Netlify page? Here it is. I mean, and you know that this was something we just did in 2 minutes, so maybe this isn't necessarily something you'd be proud of, though I have to say that this thing that was created in 5 minutes on a demo on the fly looks a lot nicer than some of those pages that you'd pay $5,000 for back in 1993. So, so it's kind of nice. You can imagine if you're just starting a firm and you want to just post about it and start telling people about it, you can share this on your Facebook page, you can share it on your LinkedIn, you can keep it in your signature line of your website. And there are just like lots of different things that you can do with it to show it to people. And it looks impressive, and it makes you feel better about what you're creating because you can see the vision. In 5 minutes, you can see the vision of what you're going to build. And I think that really motivates you to stick to it, to see really what it can be. So that's why these tools excite me, not because of the technology and not because I like to use tech just for the sake of tech, but because of the psychological impacts that they can have on what you're creating. So I just think this is a neat thing. But like I said, once again, I'm going to repeat it again for anybody who's not listening. You don't have to set up or have Claude Code create a landing page for you. It's relatively easy to do. Of course, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But it's not, you don't just push one button. You saw I had to go through a couple of different operations. But the main thing is you set up the Calendly page, you set up your intake form, and I could have done the same thing. I could have also asked, I didn't ask Claude Code to set up to include the Google form link, but I could very easily do that too. And in fact, I can just show very quickly how easy it is to update the site. Can you update the site and include my Google form, this intake form, and make an intake button? And I'm just going to add that, see if it'll do that. And I'm not going to re-upload it, but I'll just show you how quickly it can make the changes. Except you're not seeing the Claude Code page now, are you? Are you seeing the website or the Claude Code page?
We see Google Forms.
Yeah, okay, let me go back to. I am really, really sorry about this. If anybody has any advice for me on an easier way to share this stuff, and going back to Claude Code.
If you wanted to buy yourself a new nice ultra-wide monitor, you'll have plenty of real estate to do it. So
okay, so now it's going in. So now you should see Claude Code, and it's going to make the changes. And why did it? Okay, it opened to get this in before the demo one thing. Oh, you gave that only opens for you I need the public version of the form. Okay, and now it's converting. So it's doing all this work for me. Whatever link I gave it was not actually correct. So it's going in and it's making the changes, and it is loaded it here. So okay, there's an email. That's a fake email. Okay, it's supposed to make the button, the scheduling, make a secondary. Let me see where did it put it down here? Oh, here's the client intake. So, and now if I click on this, it's not going to work because this, or maybe I don't know, this is still my local file. So I'm not going to click on it, but I will, when I go back to if I flip screens again and go back to Vercel, you would be able to see. So you see how quickly it made that change right there, just when I asked it what to do. And again, when I gave it the Google form link, it was in imperfect format, and it still walked me through the connections that I needed. And of course, I don't know why it came up with this email address, but you could add the email too. I mean, you can see. And you can get really fancy with this if you want to. I mean, you can read up on Google schema and SEO practices and ask it to include that code in the back end to make your landing page very SEO accessible. I mean, you can ask it to do a lot of fancy things, and that may be the way to go. Maybe you want to use it to just set up instead of just even bothering with a simple landing page, maybe you want to set it up to do a whole website starting out. I mean, it's up to you. My only goal is to get you moving and to get a way out in the world for people to contact you and make a consultation or set a meeting or give you or allow you to capture their information. That's my goal. And once you've done that, my work is done. But there are many options and possibilities for other things that you can do. So let me stop the share and go back to our screen. And that was really the purpose of what I was going to show you here today is getting started. And again, having that way to collect data and get your name out there and have people get in touch with you is really going to pay benefits much more quickly than you think, because once you start meeting people, once you start talking to people, once you start scheduling those meetings, that's another seed that you're throwing out in the world that will eventually bloom into a client or maybe two clients or four clients, and pretty soon before you know it, you're on your way. So that was what I wanted to talk about today. If anybody has any other questions that they want addressed as this program moves forward, like I said, on Monday next, and all of these are recorded, so don't feel like you have to show up in person because there isn't a lot of advance notice. But on Monday, Kelly Brubaker, who's a CPA who works with solo and small firms, is going to talk about getting your financial account set up. And she's going to do a walkthrough of setting up QuickBooks as sort of like just a demo, a very high level demo. And then on Tuesday, we have Rachel McGarry Huff, who is a legal tech consultant who works specifically with solo and small firms. And she's going to tell you, what you need to do to get your tech stack set up. So those are the first two things that are scheduled. And I already have a pre-recorded interview that I'll be posting with Ernie, the attorney, who talks about just kind of AI native law firms and his philosophy of getting them started from a very much more high level view. Where can we find the schedule? The schedule goes out weekly. So I thought that today I sent out the schedule for next week about Monday and Tuesday. It'll go out again. It's kind of off to a little bit of a rough start, but like towards the end of each week, I'll be posting what is going to be happening the following week. And again, if you're on the list, everything is recorded. You will definitely get access to the recordings once they're edited and everything, because I'm developing this on an evolving basis. It's all free. There's not going to be a cost for the recordings or anything. And maybe at the very end, I'll put all the recordings together and package them. But for now, everything is available ongoing. And the other thing that I would ask of you is if there's anything specific you want to learn how to do. I mean, was it helpful to see this, or can anybody just chime in the chat and let me know if you could see yourself setting up a landing page or setting up any of these things to get started, or if this was helpful in any way, or if it's like too much, or rather just hire a vendor. Well, let me know. Or if you have any specific questions that you want us to cover, because we're going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about using AI to be able to bulk market your firm. We're going to do phone setup and phone services, AI empowered phone services. And again, the goal there is going to be to both try to help you figure out ways to automate your phone intake service, but also, again, it's about the data. What kind of information do you need to capture from callers so that you can track trends and make sure that your intake is running smoothly? So we're going to talk about that too to get you all off to a fresh start on something like that. Let me see. Do I have a message here? Oh, somebody said, oh, wait. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. How to use AI. Okay. Thank you for the questions. I was looking at the wrong box. I did see the amount of tokens using Claude. How many tokens? I will look up how many tokens it took. Like I said, I went down to Opus 4.8 to develop the page. I haven't found development of the landing page to be a huge time sink. I found it more of a time sink to do like, big like document review or doing multiple versions of research projects. So when I was doing it as a practice, I don't remember using that many tokens. I'll learn how to use AI to help with email. Oh, 700 emails a day. That is perfect. We will definitely, okay, I will definitely talk about different ways that you can automate your email and have and create an AI agent to help you manage your email. That's a terrific topic. Thank you. I will definitely schedule something for that. Okay, and I'm glad this was helpful so far. So, um, where do you use the intake form? Where can we find the schedule? Somebody's using ChatGPT. Okay, so we have some good ideas for topics. Yeah, intake is an excellent one. So we will talk about managing your email with AI agents and different ways of doing that. So anyway, that's really all we have for today. Unless anybody has any additional questions. And we're also going to talk, we will talk about substantive use of AI and different legal research tools. One of the things that's really exciting now is that there are a lot of powerful free AI tools that are being developed for legal research. There's one called Ding Duff that was developed by a pair of Austin, Texas attorneys, and it's free. And they just developed it for their own internal use, and it turned out to be so powerful that they wanted to share it with the world. There's also another assistant tool called Describe.com, which is a tool that was originally developed to help pro ses research the law, but it works just as well for attorneys. It has, sites built in. So we'll do a session on getting set up with and maybe running a test drive of some of these free legal research tools. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and I will try to send the schedules out like towards the beginning of the week. How do you stay personal without turning people off when using an AI? Okay, yeah, we will talk about that too, because those are some considerations. Those are bigger picture considerations because you do want to be careful. I mean, a lot of people, AI is such a controversial subject. In fact, as you probably know, there's a lot of people who are just philosophically opposed to anybody using AI or using AI in any way to displace human labor. And so you have to be sensitive to that because, if those people are within your client base, you don't want to get off on a wrong foot by alienating people right away. So there are ways that you can use it prudently. And one of the things that I like to do when I introduce or when I incorporate a new type of AI, like having it, do emails, is I will often have it line up a bunch of email responses in draft, and I go through each one in draft and I make changes to it. And I know that that is not maximizing efficiency because I'm still doing a little bit of work, but it definitely cuts down on time to have somebody take a first stab at the draft, to have it all lined up and ready to go in my draft email. And I feel much better about personalizing it. That's just me. You may not feel that way. You may also be able to try to train your AI to sound more human. So we'll talk about that when we do the AI agent session, but that is a great idea for a session. So we're just going to keep going like this very informally throughout the summer. And hopefully by the end of August or beginning of September, you'll have a whole big database of these different modules on how to help you get started. So I'm really glad you all showed up. Thanks for the great questions. I'm sorry it was a little rocky. I think, like I said, I can do the coding parts of the technology. The parts are on the most clumsy is like pushing the buttons and going from one screen to the next. So everybody has their weaknesses, but thanks for showing up, and I will see you all next week. Great. Thanks a lot. And remember, Monday is Kelly Brubaker. She's at 4 p.m. Eastern, and Tuesday is Rachel Huff. So that's CPA and Tech Stack. So bring your questions. Thanks. Bye.